Welcome back to Backstory, where we leave our headline interviews behind and slow down and take a trip into the private lives and family photo albums of our decision makers. Today, the National Party MP, who is a twin, one of 6 brothers, and who has been adventuring in the North Pole and dog sledding in Mongolia. Here is Andrew Bailey with his backstory.
Well, I grew up on a farm in Wanganui, and I had 5 brothers, so there were 6 boys, pretty dynamic household, and but it was a wonderful upbringing. We were just left alone to get on with our things, and Paul and I, having a twin brother, made it really pretty cool. We just used to roam the farm, ride horses.
Yeah, and we're pretty feral. You know, our idea of fun was going and hunting in the bush from a very early age.
You could always blame something on him. Actually, I remember going in to get caned at school. Of course, caning you can't do now. And the headmaster saying to me, you were observed doing all these things. And I was standing there thinking, I just didn't do any of them. But he still caned me nonetheless.
Andrew was prefect at school and I wasn't, and there was a reason for that. Because I was always in trouble. And then when I got in trouble so much, I used to say, so which one are you, Bailey? And I'd go, Andrew. 7 years at boarding school. And then I guess we were kind of liberated and we had to go and join the army after that.
Although Paul outranked me, he became a full colonel. So my wife always jokes, I'd be walking down the street in Auckland, for instance, and everyone's saluting me like this, and I'd take the salute, of course, and then she'd say to me, who's that? And I'd say, I don't have a clue. I've served with many different groups, as Paul has, but the parachute is sort of an elite group. They're called the shock troops. We used to jump out of planes at 800 feet. When you're young, you don't mind that.
But you've got to remember, we're genetically the same, and our 2 wives, poor things, have to put up with us, right? And that's not easy, I have to say. But as they say, they're married to the genetically the same man, which is really weird when you think about it.
So I met my wife actually in New Zealand. So we've been together, we've been married 32 years, but we've actually been together much longer than that. I've always had a view, people should have a focus on their main career, but I've always had a view that it's important to have a second element. A, it makes you a more interesting person, but it's just the way I'm driven. When I came back to New Zealand, I took up adventure racing, so you go down that pathway. I did all the big races like Coast to Coast and all those ones. I've done a lot of the big New Zealand mountains like Mount Cook, Mount Aspiring, all that sort of stuff. And then I thought, where can I go next? And that's when I had the bright idea of going to Antarctica. I took a view that how do you help your sons sort of grow, and I'm lucky enough to have the opportunity to take them away. What I've done is that I've taken them away at sort of 21, 22, 23, and it's really that transition from children to them sort of evolving into manhood. So my oldest son and I went to the North Pole and we dragged sledges to the North Pole, and there's no guarantee you get to the North Pole. But we had a great run. We think we broke the record to the North Pole, not because we were trying to, but we just had a great run. There were moments when we wondered whether we were going to get there.
I used to start a party like this, with champagne, vodka, but we never had the Arctic ice. Thank you, Maestro.
And then the second son, Dan, we went to Jordan.
2,425 metres.
No one has ever got on a camel and followed the routes of Lawrence of Arabia. We were the first people to do it. Everyone's been to all the different battle sites and things like that. And as a result of living as a Bedouin, and there were only 3 of us, Dan and I and the person who owned the camels, we now dispute some of Lawrence's claims. We've written it up and it's been published in the UK. And then, of course, with George, we went to Mongolia. Oh, it's pretty cool, isn't it?
Peace!
Eh? Going away with your sons and doing fantastic things. What's wrong with that? Thank you. All matching colours, of course. Hang on, Georgie.
So we're the first people to stay with these people for this amount of tenure in these sort of conditions.
In winter?
Yeah, in winter. Living in conditions of absolute climatized hardship, blisteringly cold, nothing grows, you're scouring for grass, your animals are dying constantly. It's mind-blowing the way that they live and how different it is to us was the big one that I took away. I don't know, it changes how you sort of talk and look at each other and could put you together or pull you apart in different ways. Well, obviously Andrew's a very outdoorsy person. And I know Andrew grew up in a very competitive environment as well, and that has been passed through. So we were always a very competitive family. Lots of sports, lots of activity, lots of doing things, lots of pushing in a good or bad way, depending on how you decide to take it. It was an interesting time.
Because I think modern day children are very passive, and I think it's something that really worries me. And I hope not only the activity, but it's the inquiring mind.
Because many New Zealanders are not seeing that.
I'd always wanted to go into politics, and then this seat came up, and I thought to myself, either I'm going to go for it or I'm not.
Yeah, I reckon it's a hard gig, that one. I admire him for an extraordinary amount of personal sacrifice and family sacrifice.
Oh, look at that!
I have one more I really want to do, and it's following the old salt route from Morocco through the Sahara Desert down to Timbuktu. And one day I'm going to do that route.